I can't believe I finally get to say this, but today we're having a look at the Pegasus Astro SmartEye. It is finally out. I still remember last April when it was first announced, and I was immediately inspired with so many astro companies releasing smart telescopes. It is refreshing to see something entirely different, a device that builds on smart automation while letting you use your existing equipment. I've had a chance to try out the SmartEye for the past few weeks, and today I finally get to share everything I've discovered. Some features I'll show are still in beta, but you can expect full functionality through future updates. It's a beautiful day out here in the Swiss Alps, and with another clear night ahead, let's dive right in. My name is Luca, and you're watching the Space Koala. In case you haven't seen it yet, what is the SmartEye? In short, it's the world's first smart eyepiece that you can pair with any telescope. It combines the well-known and widely appreciated IMX533 camera sensor with an OLED screen and a lens that mimics a real eyepiece. This allows you to enjoy live-stack short exposures with the familiar feeling of looking through a traditional telescope while benefiting from modern technology. This makes the invisible visible. It reveals objects you'd never be able to see visually while keeping the experience as close as possible to classic observing. If you're familiar with the Unistellar line of telescopes and their digital eyepieces, the SmartEye offers a similar experience, but with any go-to tracking telescope and with much higher image quality. And that's just the beginning. It can do a lot more, and we're going to cover everything today. Okay, let's take a look at what you get when you buy the SmartEye. Inside the box, you get another box, which I have to say is a very nicely made one. Of course, you get the SmartEye itself. It comes with a protective cap for the sensor side and another for the eyepiece side. It also comes with a USB-C power cable, and I don't know what it is with Pegasus, but every time they include the nicest cables with each product. Anyway, you'll also find a 12-volt DC to USB-C power delivery converter. You only need this if you want to power the SmartEye from a regular 12-volt source. If you're using a USB power delivery, power bank, or compatible supply, you can just plug the USB-C cable directly and skip the adapter. Next, you get a 2-inch nosepiece that screws into the M54 thread on the sensor side. Let's take a look at the device itself and walk through the specs and all the physical features. On the back of the SmartEye, you'll find the large lens you'll actually look into. Behind that is a built-in OLED screen which displays the live-stacked image. This combination is what gives you the feeling of looking through a real eyepiece and not just a flat display. Right next to the lens, you have a focus dial to adjust the diopter. This lets you fine-tune the sharpness of the view based on your eyesight, just like you would in a pair of binoculars or a DSLR viewfinder. Controlling the whole system is the Astro Crown, and I really like that name. It works a lot like a digital crown on an Apple Watch, so you rotate it to scroll through the menus and then you press it to select. It is super intuitive and it immediately feels completely natural. On the side, you'll find a USB-C port, which is used for power and firmware updates. There's also a micro SD card slot, which is where you can insert a memory card to save your stacked images or raw subs. Perfect for transferring to your computer later for further processing. There's also a Wi-Fi antenna here to ensure strong connection when you're accessing the SmartEye via its local network or controlling it remotely. The SmartEye also includes an ST4 guiding port, but the external guiding functionality isn't available in the current software. And finally, at the front of the device, we have the large cooled IMX533 sensor. The same sensor many astrophotographers already know and love. Around it is an M54 thread, which is where you screw in the included 2-inch nosepiece. The nosepiece itself also has internal threads for 2-inch filters, so you can install in a luminance or narrowband filter. Altogether, it is a solid and well thought out package, but there are a couple things to keep in mind depending on your setup. If your telescope only accepts 1¼ inch eyepieces, you'll need a different nosepiece. That's easy to sort out with a simple M54 step-down adapter. You might want to do that anyway if you already own 1¼ inch filters, since 2-inch filters can get pretty pricey. And yes, you will need a filter. The built-in sensor doesn't have an IR cut filter, so without at least a basic, inexpensive luminance filter, you'll likely see halos or aberrations around stars. And dependent on your target and observing conditions, a narrowband filter can also help as well. Now that we're familiar with all the parts, let's take a closer look at the three main ways you can use the SmartEye, depending on your setup, your experience level, and how hands-on you want to be. First, you can use it as a completely standalone smart eyepiece. Just plug it into your telescope, power it on, and enjoy live-stacked views right through the eyepiece. No phone, no app, no cables. All you need is a telescope with tracking capabilities so it can keep your target centered while the SmartEye builds up the image over time. This is ideal for casual observing or outreach events. Second, if you have a compatible go-to mount, you can connect the SmartEye to SkySafari for full telescope control. This lets you align your mount, place salve, and automatically slew to any object in the sky, all from your phone or tablet. It turns your existing gear into a fully integrated smart telescope. Finally, for advanced users, you can use the SmartEye as a regular cooled deep sky imaging camera controlled via the ASCOM Alpaca protocol. It works with popular software like Nina, giving you all the flexibility of a standard astro camera with the added bonus of instantly switching back to live eyepiece mode when you want that immersive interactive experience. So let's walk through each of these three cases. Let's start with the first way to use the SmartEye, standalone mode. No apps, no phone, just your telescope and the eyepiece. To begin, you'll need to set up your telescope with tracking capabilities just as you would for any visual or imaging session. This typically means doing a basic alignment using your mount's hand controller, often a 2 or 3 star alignment to ensure the internal model is accurate. If you're using an equatorial mount, don't forget the polar alignment step. All of this is standard procedure and should feel exactly the same as what you would do for regular visual observing. Once you're done, place the SmartEye into the diagonal or focuser, connect the USB power cable, and the SmartEye will boot up automatically. Follow the on-screen instructions using the Astro crown, rotate it to scroll through the menus, and press to select. During the initial setup, you'll select your region and a few preferences. Before starting, I also recommend going into the settings and taking dark frames. This part is fully automated. You just simply cover the frontlets of your telescope and the SmartEye will take 2 sets of darks, one for the live view and another set for stacking. It only takes a few seconds, and once that's done, you're good to go. Next, you'll enter into live view, which shows you what the eyepiece sees in real time. This mode is great for focusing, but keep in mind that the focus point is likely different from a traditional eyepiece. You'll need to adjust your focuser until stars come into focus. Even with a narrow field of view, there are usually multiple stars visible to help you nail focus. I tested this even with my Celestron C11 and had no trouble. Use your mount's hand controller to go to the object you want to observe. At this point, all you have to do is select New Observation in the eyepiece menu and the SmartEye will begin live stacking. Here's what happens. It starts taking 10-second exposures by default, and after each one, it automatically aligns and stacks it with the previous frames, all inside the device with no external computer. The first few frames will look very faint. You'll see some basic structure maybe in black and white. That's because the device is intentionally conservative with the stretching at the beginning. But as more frames are added and the signal-to-noise ratio improves, the stretch increases automatically, the colors slowly begin to emerge. You're literally watching the image come to life in front of your eyes. It's a surprisingly engaging experience. Even though it is a screen, it feels like you're collecting light in real time, not just looking at a finished image. And if you want to fine-tune the brightness or contrast of the image, you can do that anytime using the Astro crown. I think this standalone mode is perfect if you want a simple, immersive experience, or if you're doing an outreach event or just want to show people what's up there without any extra gear or setup. Let's move on to the second way to use the SmartEye, and this is where things start to get really powerful. You can connect the SmartEye to SkySafari Plus or Pro for full telescope control, including plate solving and go-to. To use the SmartEye with SkySafari, you'll need a compatible go-to mount, meaning one that supports control via Wi-Fi and it is able to connect to an external Wi-Fi network, either directly or via a Wi-Fi adapter. Here's how to set it up. First, make sure your phone or tablet is connected to the SmartEye's Wi-Fi network. As soon as the SmartEye powers on, it creates its own Wi-Fi network. Just connect to it like you would with any other Wi-Fi device. All the instructions and the password itself is available directly in the SmartEye eyepiece menu. Now, open SkySafari. Inside SkySafari, navigate to the new Observe Camera menu. The app will automatically detect any compatible cameras on the same network, and in just a couple of seconds, it should find and connect to the SmartEye. In my case, it worked flawlessly, and you only have to do it once. Next, you'll need to connect your mount to SkySafari, and this has nothing to do with the SmartEye, but I'm including it here because a lot of people may have never used this functionality before. For example, I've been using SkySafari for 5 years, and it wasn't until I started testing the SmartEye that I connected a mount to it for the first time. To make everything work together, the SmartEye, SkySafari, and your mount, they all have to be on the same Wi-Fi network out in the field. And as a good practice in general, the simplest way to do this is to connect everything to the SmartEye's own Wi-Fi network. Let me walk you through how to do this using the ZWO AM5, which is what I have here today. Start by connecting your hand controller to the AM5. That's what generates the mount's own Wi-Fi. Then on your phone, connect to the AM5's Wi-Fi network. Now open the Sky Atlas app, go into the settings, and you'll see your AMH, that's the AM hand controller, listed. Tap it and then go to the Wi-Fi tab. Here, you'll tell the AM5 to connect to the SmartEye's Wi-Fi network. Just select the SmartEye network, enter the password, and you're done. Again, you'll only need to do this once. After that, every time you power up, everything auto connects, and it takes maybe half a minute total. Of course, the procedure for each mount can be slightly different, but the main steps should be the same. Consult the manual of your mounts for specific instructions. Once the mount is also on the same network, go back to SkySafari and configure your mount within Settings, Telescope Presets. While the AM5 is technically supported in SkySafari, I found it works much more reliably when you set it up as a Meade LX200 Classic, which is the most widely used compatible go-to protocol. This worked perfectly for me. You'll also need to copy over the port number from your AM5's Wi-Fi settings. Just paste that into SkySafari, save the profile, and from then on, it will connect automatically. At this point, you're fully set up. From now on, all you have to do when you open SkySafari is click Connect on the scope and the camera. Selecting camera, you can now access all the SmartEye features. You can run a plate solve to align your mount. The SmartEye will figure out where the telescope is pointing, and by analyzing the stars in the current frame, it runs the plate solve in the background using ASTAP, and then within a few seconds, it updates your position on the sky map. You can then sync that to the mount by clicking Align. From here on, you can just use SkySafari to select any target, pick an object, tap Go To, and the telescope will slew to it automatically. The best part, now that you have plate solving, you can be 100% sure that your target is centered. You can run another plate solve to double check, and if needed, you can hit Go To again. Once you're happy with the framing, you can either view it in the virtual eyepiece or start stacking right away. So in short, if your mount supports control over Wi-Fi, and especially if you already use SkySafari, this setup unlocks a full smart telescope experience, all driven from your phone. The third way to use the SmartEye is as a regular cooled astro camera connected to your favorite imaging software via the ASCOM Alpaca protocol. This gives you the flexibility to use the SmartEye in deep sky imaging workflows. You can use software like Nina or any ASCOM compatible software. To do this, you'll need to have an Alpaca server running on your computer, usually on the same machine as your imaging software. Once the SmartEye is powered on and connected to the same Wi-Fi, it should show up in your list of available Alpaca cameras. The benefit here is that you can use it like a normal cooled camera, complete with temperature control, exposure settings, and image capture, while still having the option to switch back to the eyepiece mode anytime. The main downside is, of course, you're relying on Wi-Fi for the connection, so it's not ideal for bandwidth-heavy tasks like high-speed planetary imaging or lucky imaging. But for deep sky work with longer exposures, As the files are relatively small, it performs very well. So if you're already considering an IMX533 based camera and you like the idea of occasionally switching to a visual style experience, this becomes a very compelling option. That wraps up the 3 main use cases for the SmartEye: standalone eyepiece mode, full control via SkySafari, and deep sky imaging through Alpaca. But there's one more feature worth highlighting: the web dashboard. Once you're connected to the SmartEye's Wi-Fi network, just open a browser and go to smarteye.local/dashboard. From there, you can configure the settings, start or stop observations, monitor the live stacking, and adjust things like exposure time or cooling temperature. It is a convenient alternative to using the Astro Crown, especially if you prefer working from a phone or computer. The dashboard, like all the other stuff, is still under active development, and I know that it's being updated regularly. There's also a guest view accessible at smarteye.local/guest. This lets multiple people follow the live stacking session without being able to change any settings. Perfect for outreach events, classrooms, or star parties. While people wait their turn to look through the eyepiece, they can still watch the image come to life through their phones. As you explain what is happening, they're all seeing it too, which helps them understand what they're about to look at in the eyepiece. The web interface also shows you how many frames you've stacked, so if you prefer to get the SmartEye telescope experience from the comfort of a warm room, you can still monitor things semi-remotely and enjoy the live stacking session. So what do we think? Is the SmartEye worth it? The SmartEye is a genuinely fun and innovative tool. It blends the experience of looking through the eyepiece with the power of electronically assisted astronomy, all without needing a laptop, cables, or a complex setup. So who is it for? If you already have a telescope with a go-to mount, even if it is an alt-azimuth mount like a Celestron Evolution, this device can completely change your observing experience. You don't need to buy a new telescope or learn astrophotography. Just plug in the SmartEye and suddenly you're seeing nebulas and galaxies you've never been able to see before, with color and detail that simply aren't visible through a traditional eyepiece. It is also brilliant for observatories and outreach programs. If you have a fixed telescope already aligned and set up, just pop in the SmartEye and you've instantly turned it into an engaging experience, perfect for public nights and star parties. Of course, as always, education is crucial. We must always underline that the image is not a true optical image, but the result of multiple minutes of stacking. Expectations should be managed so that people don't get the impression that they'll be able to see the same thing with just a small telescope. If you're an astrophotographer looking for a capable camera, the SmartEye gives you a modern IMX533 sensor with cooling, Alpaca support for full software integration, and the bonus to use it as a smart eyepiece during star parties. Very cool, but let's talk about limitations. Who is this not for? At the time of the review, some features are still in development or only available in the beta software I've been testing. These include things like snapshot capture and full web dashboard functionality. They're working well on my setup, but not all of them are live in the public release yet. Pegasus is actively working on it and updates are coming soon. To get the full SmartEye experience, including go-to and plate solving, you will need SkySafari Plus or Pro and a Wi-Fi capable mount that supports connecting to an external network. That's an important consideration if your mount doesn't already offer this. Another limitation is plate solving with ultra narrowband filters. Dependent on your scope and field of view, 3nm filters may reduce star density enough to cause issues. If you're only interested in the IMX533 sensor and don't care about the eyepiece experience, there are cheaper alternatives that offer the same imaging performance without the extra features. And if you're into electronically assisted astronomy but don't care about looking through the eyepiece, this probably isn't for you. That's kind of the whole point of the SmartEye. Some people will argue that there is no difference between looking at the display of the SmartEye and looking at your phone screen, but I tend to disagree. The very fact that you have to walk up to the telescope, find the correct viewing angle, and being able to pan with your eye to discover the wide field of view it offers within the eyepiece gives you a much more personal connection to the instrument than looking at a regular screen would do. I've tested a lot of smart telescopes over the past few years, but the SmartEye genuinely stands out because it brings something new and fun to the table. It's not trying to replace traditional observing or high-end imaging. It is creating a bridge between the two, and I love that. So yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I personally really enjoyed the SmartEye over the past few weeks. I know that the first batch of orders is being delivered in a matter of days, so let me know if you guys got one or are planning to order one. I'm also very much looking forward to seeing other people's experiences. For me, it is going to be an essential part of my outreach setup. It is easy to use, engaging for the public, and it makes objects visible that most people would never get to see otherwise. And the best part is it does all of that without needing to buy a new telescope or redesign my whole setup. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the upcoming new moon and summer solstice. I have a star party next weekend and the weather is looking good, and the SmartEye will definitely be coming with me. Until next time, I wish you clear skies.